Recording in progress. Welcome everyone. My name is Trina Becker and this is Beth Bergstrom, and we are your speech therapy PD presenters for today's EPIC case study on AAC and GLP for functional communicators. Before we get started with the presentation tonight, there are a few items that I need to go over with you. The course is 60 minutes, and so it is going to be offered for 0.1 ASHA CEUs. If you are joining us for the live course and your state licensure requires live CEUs, be sure to complete all sections of the course content page, including the one that says complete course, before the end of today on your Speech Therapy PD account. Disclosures for our presentation today, we have financial disclosures, we have intellectual property rights and royalties from products sold on the B&B SLP Teachers Pay Teacher Store and our bbBoutique.slp website. And we don't have any relevant non-financial relationships related to this course tonight. If you have questions during our presentation, please put those in the chat and we will address those at the end of our presentation. And I think that's all of the introductory information.
It's a mouthful.
It is. A little bit about us. As I mentioned, I'm Trina Becker.
Beth Bergstrom.
And we are both professors at Eastern Illinois University. We teach courses and we're also clinical instructors for undergrad and graduate students in speech-language pathology. We both love to share our passion about this field through presentations and resources that we make. And so we're excited tonight to share our passion about AAC and Gestalt language processing. So our EPIC case study is ready.
Ready. Let's go. Got to find the advance button here. Well. Easier said than done. I have something in the way. Do you see it?
Your mouse
is just trying to find the mouse here, people.
There we go.
Advance.
Okay.
All right.
Our learning objectives for tonight. Critically analyze case history and other information to determine etiology or underlying factors of symptoms. Develop a profile of strengths, needs, and functional impact to determine treatment priorities, and determine most effective treatment approaches using client values, clinical judgment, and research. We are going to walk you through our EPIC handout. So this is how we have designed all of our EPIC case studies, and this is really just a guide to get you to client-specific information. So we're going to walk you through the steps of looking at etiology, what you find that's important from there, developing a profile with assessment information and strengths and weaknesses of the client, the diagnosis, severity level, how that impacts the client, and things that we need to consider to develop client-specific goals and methods. So you have this handout, this worksheet in front of you, and we are going to walk you through a PowerPoint that goes through each of these steps. Our case study tonight is on Sutton, and she is 5 years, 8 months currently. She began at our university clinic 2 years ago, and at that time, her parents, their complaint was she really didn't have a consistent means to express herself. And because of that, she was exhibiting a lot of frustration and behaviors, and it just was really limiting to her at home and in her educational environment as she started preschool. So that was the initial complaint.
Yeah, and I think initially that was the complaint, and it's kind of still the complaint. It's changed a little bit over time as parents started to kind of recognize the precursory skills to having kind of more consistent communication. When she first came, she didn't have much joint attention, and so we had to spend time really working on that. But the complaint has really stayed the same. It's just changed in complexity, I think, over the couple of years that we've been working with her.
Throughout our presentation tonight, we have a couple of things that we're going to be referring to. One is the AAC communicator profile, and the other is the AAC guide to goals. So these are resources that we have developed We do have a presentation on speech therapy PD on both of them. So if you want some more information about them, there is the little icon for that presentation. It's called Individualized and Attainable Path for AAC Success. So if it interests you tonight and you want more info, that's how you get it. Those products are also on our B&B SLP Teachers Pay Teachers store. Okay, background information about Miss Sutton. So her parents filled this out on her initial intake when she started at our university clinic 2 years ago.
And we've updated it along the way.
So medical developmental information, she's diagnosed with autism. She has an iron deficiency and some sensory needs that are pretty significant. She has delayed expressive language. Her receptive is higher than expressive. She used single words from 13 to 14 months, and then she's around 16 months, she stopped talking, said her mom. And then she started to pick it up again around 18 months and using some words and some phrases. And she loved at that time and still loves to sing songs, nursery rhymes. She's hyperlexic. She has delayed echolalia, and she uses Gestalt phrases. She does have some behaviors such as biting, pinching herself and others, and she requires some significant sensory input. And she receives significant sensory input in vestibular, visual, and auditory and oral. She has received OT and speech therapy and developmental therapy in the past when she was in early intervention. And after aging out of EI, she started in a special education preschool classroom where she receives speech therapy and OT, and she also receives them privately. So she's got a lot of services. Her parents have done a great job seeking out any way that they can help her. And additionally, they got her involved in lots of extracurricular activities, both gross and fine motor. So that's awesome. So some of the key findings from the etiology: she has autism, her iron deficiencies impact her regulation. She has those significant sensory integration needs. She's had a device for 2 years. So shortly after she started at our university, Beth worked on getting funding for a communication system for her. So she uses an iPad with touch chat. She has a long history of speech therapy and OT and a really good collaborative relationship with her therapist. So they're always talking and about what's going on and collaborating on her goals and her needs.
Both her private therapist and also at school.
Yes, it's great. And she continues, though, to have challenges effectively communicating, which is impacting her across her different environments.
And also, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but family is very involved. You know, I talk to mom regularly, but grandma is her primary caregiver who brings her to all of her services because mom is working. So lots of family members involved too. So just showing that there is just a lot of good collaboration going on with Sutton.
For her assessment, we looked at her communicator profile using the AAC communicator profile. We used this initially when she started at our clinic, and then Beth did it recently again on her just to kind of assess where she is. So again, we developed this a few years ago, and it's to really help you determine what communication category you think that the child falls in: emerging, functional, or generative. And the goal of the communication categories are just to provide you some guidance and long-term expectations for your AAC communicator so that you can write appropriate goals to get them to that ultimate goal of becoming independent communicators, no matter, what level that they're at. And so we have AAC goals that go along with those different areas. The profile looks at pre-linguistic skills. So here's a screenshot of the profile and where Sutton currently is on her pre-linguistic skills. So it's organized into an A, B, and C column. A means that she's not doing the skill at all. B is with some support, and C is independent. So if you look at this at a quick glance, you'll see that she's in C or between B and C for most all of these pre-linguistic skills. So she has a pretty good foundation now. When she came in 2 years ago, that was not the case.
Yeah, most of her pre-linguistic skills were probably in the A category. Joint attention, making choices, protesting. I mean, all of those things were really difficult for her. So we really had to focus our attention on kind of some sensory regulation as well as teaching these pre-linguistic skills. But there are still some that she needs to continue to work on.
And you've shared with me, and I've seen videos of it, that when you first introduced the device to her, just during your trials, you saw already joint attention increase, just overall engagement and interaction with others. It was phenomenal to see how quickly that changed her overall interaction
engagement. I mean, the AAC, we feel like, is kind of what gave her that motivation to want to connect with the other person. She kind of recognized that. So AAC has been a very positive thing for her from the very beginning, but we still have things to work on.
So let's look at the next part, which is her linguistic skills. So the next area is symbolically. So does she use picture symbols or words to request, to protest? And you'll see that most of those are in the B column. So she needs some support. She needs support from her communication partners. She needs support from her context, doing routine activities to request, protest, make comments, and answer some questions and combine symbols. And then the last category here are her play skills. Sutton's got some pretty strong play skills.
Right. And this is where her family and what they have been doing with her over the years have really paid off. And we have continued to kind of work with that in mind as well. So she is very interested in toys. She plays mostly appropriately with toys. So, I mean, things in the play area are a positive for her.
Definitely a strength.
Whoops. Okay. Stop sharing. Sorry about that. I've got an overlap down here that's causing me some problems. So I think we're okay.
Okay. And the final section is the area of prognostic indicators. So for these skills really help predict how much success the child's going to have with AAC. So we're looking at what is the impact of the diagnosis on social skills. So A column is significant deficits, B is moderate, and C is no to mild. So Sutton is in the moderate deficit area with that. And then also impact of diagnosis on overall long-term cognition. So at this point, we still think she has some moderate deficits in those areas. Although she has some great strengths, she still is behind her peers. And then overall executive function, we've mentioned her sensory regulation needs and her behavior and emotional regulation. Overall, she's got some moderate deficits there. These prognostic indicators are weighted a little bit heavier than the other skills. And then from there, we come up with a score to help us figure out where she's functioning.
A couple of new sections that we just recently added as we are revising kind of this profile are two things: analysis of learning and factors for AAC success. So what you see here are things related to their learning style. And we really think that this is something that needs to be considered as you are planning intervention and thinking about goals and methods. So I rated Sutton here on her learning style. Vocalizations, she does use rich intonation, a lot of singing. We always hear nursery rhymes, those kinds of things. She does have some jargon and delayed echolalia. She has some scripts that she has learned. She has made, I would call limited progress with using non-scripted language. She has made she's made a lot of progress in 2 years. But I would say, as far as learning how to be what her mom wants, reciprocal and to be conversational and to be efficient and effective with her communication, there's been some limited progress there. She prefers everything to be kind of in a routine. She prefers things to be in a script or in the whole. She wants to sing the whole song. She wants to do the whole nursery rhyme. And also she benefits the most from child-led, play-based therapy. So what this tells me is that these are things that I need to incorporate or consider as I plan for goals. And you could also probably guess that a lot of those things are indicative of someone who learns best as a Gestalt language processor. So The next section here is talking about factors for AAC success. And we expanded this again in our revision. It used to just kind of be focused around what the family had with regards to, information, education, experience with an AAC device. And we expanded this to include the child and also the educational setting and staff. So here you just see kind of some things with regards to the child and the family for Sutton. They really have had a lot of education, but there are definitely still some areas that they don't fully have a clear understanding of maybe some of the specific strategies that would be the best for Sutton. So if I look here at the profile, taking in what we call kind of the assessment information, we came to the conclusion that Sutton is a functional communicator. She relies on context, prompts, and routines to communicate. She has the ability to acquire language skills. She can request, she can protest, she can answer some concrete questions. She can do some greetings, some concrete feelings, and some simple conversations, primarily in the script kind of way. She is what we would call a Gestalt language communicator. She relies on timeout. Something just happened. Share.
I think we just need to share. That one just popped up.
Share this one?
Yeah.
Not this one?
Right.
Okay. Not sure why that's happening. I apologize. Okay. Hopefully everyone is still seeing what we're seeing. That hasn't happened before. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. So a Gestalt language processor or Gestalt language communicator, meaning that she learns best through natural language acquisition. And, that kind of is represented with Sutton through her jargon, her rich intonation, her long scripts, her individualized Gestalt words and phrases, and she uses that to symbolically communicate. I think that some of the needs and barriers to make her more successful are probably in that area of education to all communication partners about specific strategies that are going to be beneficial. So as we think about goals, we need to make sure that we are thinking about her learning style and also thinking about some of those barriers and how we can include parents or educational staff in our intervention.
Okay, so that leads us to the impact areas on our worksheet. So now I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask Beth questions.
Okay.
Sutton's your client. Areas of impact. How about auditory comprehension?
Impacted.
Okay. How about oral expression?
Yes.
How about executive function, cognition?
Yes. Impacted.
And speech?
Yes. Speech sounds, no.
Okay.
So maybe more, if you ask me that again, maybe I should say more oral expression than speech, right?
Yep.
Would that make more sense?
Yep.
Okay.
And how about social?
Social, yes, is a problem.
And behavior?
Behavior does impact us quite often.
And sensory?
Impacts us, and that causes the behaviors.
And the last two areas are written expression and reading comprehension.
I mean, not yet. In fact, reading, I think, is probably a strength of hers. She likes to look at books and sound out words. So I think that it's going to be a strength. As far as comprehension, I'm not sure yet.
Okay. And then clinically, these impacts, what impairments most impact her daily function?
I think right now it's sensory.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think sensory, and then also just like, again, with her mom's biggest concern, not being able to efficiently relay a message of emotion or how she's feeling or about her day.
Okay. And what activities are most important for your client?
Mom wants conversation. She wants that reciprocal conversation. So she wants to be able to ask her what she did, ask her who she played with, all of those kinds of things. I think that's really difficult for mom because they're so involved and they're really hoping that she will develop that.
And what current characteristics hinder Sutton the most right now?
Sensory, and then that leads to behaviors. we're in kind of a time right now where we're really struggling with that.
Mhm.
And this summer we have her in a group, and so it's definitely interfering. I think that the iron deficiencies, some of those things, teeth. There's
Oh,
just been a lot of stuff that's kind of impacted her sensory wise. So I would say that's one of our biggest barriers right now.
okay. And what about her mode of communication? Is she switching back and forth between
Yes.
AAC and verbal? Like, how's that impacting her?
Yeah, she is, which is a positive, right? And we accept everything. She'll take your hand, she'll guide you where she wants to go. We use some visual strips with her. She has her AAC device. She communicates verbally. She communicates with behavior. So yeah, I mean, she's got all of them, and we are accepting them all. And I think that's good.
Mhm.
But yes, it's difficult to try to work on them all at the same time.
Yeah, balance.
Yeah.
And then what are her strengths to build on?
I would say her joint attention,
Mhm.
her motivation to sit on your lap and interact with you. She plays really well with toys and can do play routines. She is when sensory is not a problem, she is happy and fun, and she's just you want to communicate and interact with her.
The fact that play is a strength for her, I think, is awesome. It just gives so many context
Yeah.
for learning
Yeah.
and for communication. When children aren't engaged and do not want to interact with lots of toys, it really is hard. It makes
Oh,
therapy so
it
much
is.
harder. So that's
Yeah.
great for her.
But we developed that over the couple of years. I mean, through all of the therapies that she's had from early intervention until now, we've really made that a focus
Mhm.
first. And I think that really helped us get to where we are now.
Yeah, doing all things, all good things.
I know.
Hey, let's talk through some goals here.
All right.
Okay, so now it's time to think about framework for developing intervention for her. We know her where she's at, we know her profile of strengths and some things that she needs to work on. So now how are we going to approach goals? So the first thing we can look at is the AAC Communicator Guide to Goals. We have just added a Gestalt language communicator section of goals. This one, our revised one, isn't quite ready and up on Teachers Pay Teachers yet. We're hoping by the end of the summer that it's there. However, if you want to grab it now, or if you have already grabbed it, when we revise it, we'll automatically send the new one out to whoever has it. Thank goodness that's a function on Teachers Pay Teachers to
Yeah.
do that.
And you're going to want it. It's
Yeah.
got some really great additions, I think. And tonight will be one of the first times that you'll get to see that. Mhm.
So we use that to help us figure out goals. So that has a continuum of goals. It gives us information about linguistic and social goals that are appropriate for a child, while also thinking about on AAC, what are the operational and strategic skills that a child might also need to develop that communicative competence. So we use that as a guide to help us figure out AAC goals. But then we have this Gestalt piece that we need to be thinking about. And, through research, through educating ourselves about it, natural language acquisition is the approach that we're going to use for a framework for her therapy, for her gestalts. We're also going to consider child-led therapy. That's not a new thing in our profession, but it's kind of being hyped up right now. But we want to use Sutton's interests. We want to enter her world and build that great rapport with her. And so, framing everything around child-led is going to be effective for her and has been effective for her. So we definitely want to continue that. And then communication partner training. So we know that in the world of AAC, the communication partners need education on how to teach communication, how to even use the device. And now we need to think about also the Gestalt piece. How do we educate other communication partners about how Sutton uses those phrases to communicate and how we can continue to shape those phrases?
Yeah, and specifically, there are some strategies that are going to be the most useful for these kinds of learners. And it's up to us. Parents are not going to know those unless we teach those to them. So you can kind of see in the corner where we have our goals. This is just a snapshot and an example. But the way we set up the goals for Gestalt language learners are we have their goals. And then we specifically have communication partner strategy. So it really challenges you to get them involved and use those as kind of your methods in therapy.
Yeah. Okay, so based on that, here are some goal areas for her. So we want to continue to develop pre-linguistic skills for Sutton. She's got some strengths in this area, but we still need to build some more of that turn taking and play routine with her peers. She's more comfortable with adults, so now we need to move it to her peers.
And it's thrown her for a loop, that's for sure, this summer.
And then as far as communication goes, we want Sutton to be able to imitate and use targeted social scripts to both initiate and respond following a model. We want her to use carrier phrases to request, protest, and describe. She has some foundational skills in the area. We're going to want to continue to build those. And we want her to use some gestalts for gaining attention. So, kind of a strategic area. We want her to gain that attention of her communication partner before she tries to communicate. And then with play, imitate and use target play scripts to initiate and respond within a play situation with peers following a model, and to use her gestalts to join in social play. So things like want to play, I want to, and my turn.
Okay, so even though we have these goals, I mentioned to you that there are those communication partner strategies. What I would consider those are kind of like the methods that you have for each of your goals. So again, we have her in a summer peer group of 4 kids who are all learning in the same style as Gestalt language learners. So we are doing a lot of games, a lot of scripts, play scripts, social scripts, a lot of interaction where you're going up to one of the peers in your group and saying things like, you want to play with me? I want to play. It's your turn. It's my turn, whatever. We're doing some things like that. So we're getting a lot of practice this summer and kind of using some of these things. And we're doing it through, multi-modality. We're accepting all modalities. Scripts, we're accepting words, we're accepting non-symbolic gestures, we're like grabbing you and taking you where you want to go. We're also accepting anything and modeling everything on the device. So we have some plans. However, we are following leads, and because sensory is such a big piece of where Sutton is right now, we include and support her sensory in our sessions. So we have different sensory items like the mini tramp and the spinny chair and just fidgets and an oral sensory toy that she can use at any time. We let her keep that with her at all times if she prefers to have that. Again, we're acknowledging everything that they're doing so that they know and want to continue to try to communicate. We are presuming that everything they're doing has meaning and has intent for communication. And so we're trying to play detective and figure that out.
I love that. Say that again.
We're presuming meaning and intent for all communication that she has, or that they all have. And we're trying to, I think it's kind of fun for you to know that there are 4 clients and 3 clinicians, graduate students, and then me. And so we're constantly trying to be the detective and figure out what is that meaning and intent, because we know it's something. So it's fun. It's fun to figure out. No pressure. We try to limit our talking. We do model our scripts, but that's about all we say in the session. If we are going to coach them from behind, we try to do that very quietly with gestures and maybe some whispering, but we really try not to do any other talking. And what I mean by that is we don't say over and over again, hey, come here. Come over here. I want you to say this, do this. What do you want? Asking all those questions. We really are not doing any of that this summer, which has been such a great thing for our student clinicians to have a chance to practice. It feels very awkward to them. But after like the second session, I told them that if I had to hear them say sentence turn one more time, I was going to put pencils like through my eardrums or something. And so then they stopped, and they feel really good about what they've learned just from that experience. So this is all really good. It's so much fun to watch now. We are trying to establish kind of a glossary of gestalts and work to determine the intent of those gestalts or the meaning of those gestalts, not with just our team, but also we might say to parents, hey, we heard this today. What do you think? Some methods with regards to communication is that we're trying to match gestalts to a symbol on the device. We are trying to consistently acknowledge gestalts. You can see that there is a little bit of overlap here in some of the methods. We're trying to use entire gestalts as they're used by the child. Some of these suggestions, definitely we've learned from some of our training and digging in with meaningful speech and taking into consideration all of the great things that they're trying to teach us about gestalts. Begin to separate chunks and carrier phrases and use carrier phrases for commenting, responding, and requesting. So if I'm thinking specifically about communicative intent, this is kind of where I'm going. I'm using carrier phrases. I'm trying to get comments. I'm trying to get them to do that reciprocal communication. I'm modeling it and offering them opportunities and ways to do that. And then we're still doing play, right? We're with peers, so we're playing. So we are trying to customize devices for personal scripts and highly motivating routines. We're making scripts very usable in a variety of contexts. So we might just be doing a very short phrase like let's go, so that we can use it in a variety of contexts. Again, something like my turn, I want to turn, I want to go. We're trying to make sure that those are easy to use in different places. We're modeling parts of scripts on the device as we play. So again, trying to limit our verbal and maybe show them and model on the device what we might be able to say to our friends in our peer group. And then also we're modeling verbally and using the device often. So we're just doing it all the time, accepting everything. And then we sit down and we think about it. What did we see? What worked? What didn't work? I mean, it's just been so interesting to watch. So
Hold on, I've got some questions.
okay.
I want to know how, you've got multiple clinicians, you have multiple clients, all at different levels. How did you choose the phrases that you were going to model during your session? What kind of brainstorming did you do to get there?
Well, all of these clients were clients here in our clinic previously. So we dug into their final semester reports and we looked to see what kinds of phrases they were currently using and how we might be able to expand on those. We also did some, kind of observation the first week to kind of see what they're changing all the time. I mean, we're changing them all the time. We're not stuck on anything. We make adjustments wherever we need to make adjustments as we move forward. We are doing things that are functional for our summer peer group. And honestly, some of the parents are just like, I'm hearing some of that. One particular parent, not Sutton's parent, but another parent said that he asked his grandma, want to play Duck, Duck, Goose?
Oh,
Because we do a lot of Duck, Duck, Goose. And so one of our clients asked his
awesome.
grandma this weekend if she wanted to play Duck, Duck, Goose. So I think we're trying to make them very not as individualized, but we did because we looked at the reports, but more for the group. What would be functional for the group?
And you're planning ahead of time what you're targeting, right?
Yes. And we are trying to be very consistent in like the scripts that we are bringing up. However, we are adaptable.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think the consistency is important, but adapting as they are learning and growing. Yeah, that's all good stuff.
Okay, so a little bit of a summary here. The client-specific intervention that we want to arrive at, the things that I want to think about are learning style. So, thinking about Sutton, I know that she is a Gestalt language learner. I need to really consider that as I choose the framework and methods for her therapy, as well as the goals. I need to accept the fact that sometimes she's verbal and sometimes she needs her AAC device. So I need to acknowledge and accept all of that. I need to assume that all attempts are meaningful. I need to model with no expectations or pressure of an immediate response because she might go home and do the things that we're modeling. I need to model with repetition and redundancy, less prompting, less direct questions. And I also need to make sure that I am really working with my communication partners, which are the parents. Right now it's summer, so not so much am I talking to the educational team, but I'll be ready to share this for them in the fall. But everywhere that we decide to put a gestalt needs to be a decision by the team, and the team needs to know about it or they're not going to be able to model it at home. As far as where to put gestalts on the device, unfortunately, there is no one right answer. It's the thing that our students hate to hear the most, but it's trial and error. And that's why we're so excited to have this whole summer to just kind of trial that and see what works for one may not work for the other. But it needs to be a team decision. It's not just one person's decision on where things are placed on the device.
And we have spent a lot of time just brainstorming about Sutton in general. This is, one of the first ones we've tried, clients, we've integrated AAC and thinking about Gestalt, and it's hard. It's hard to balance both things. And I think in our clinic, correct me if I'm wrong, but in our clinic, I feel like in her individual one-on-one sessions, she tries to communicate more verbally.
Yes.
I get to see her at the school because I bring graduate students to the school that she's at, and I get to pop in her classroom. We don't see her at the school. We get to see some other kids there. And she is using her device a little bit more in that classroom. And I don't know if it's because sensory is a little bit more overwhelming, if it's harder for her to get her verbal communication out, that she has to rely a little bit more on her AAC device. For example, I've observed her at table time and doing an activity. She's got her device right there. When she has a communication breakdown, she's using it to communicate to the teacher, or her teacher directs her to that device.
Yes.
So, and we've talked about, gosh, how much do we push verbal? How much do we emphasize AAC? And it just needs to continue to be that balance.
Yeah.
Which is hard. It's so hard.
I mean, there's no answer.
Yeah.
There's no answer. And I think a lot of things, I mean, we talked about sensory, we talked about behavior. I think there's something to do with confidence, where I think she maybe sometimes is more confident and wants to try verbal things. And sometimes she has less confidence and wants to kind of bury herself kind of in her device where she's more comfortable. So, I mean, I think there are so many variables. And again, that's why the communication partners and the team is such an important part of AAC, as we know. And now knowing that she has these varying modalities for communication, it really takes a team to understand where we want to push and where we want to model and where we want to back off.
And I think if you didn't have the input from the school either, you might be pushing more verbal because that's what you're hearing from her.
Yeah.
But realizing she still needs that AAC system when she's overwhelmed, when there's lots of people around, extra stimulation, when she can't get the words out.
Yeah.
So,
and as we know, parents want them to talk.
Yes.
However, these parents bring the device every time, so it's really cool. And I think they take it with them when they go. So, and they go a lot. So I think the parents really are on board. They really understand. So we're really lucky in this particular case.
Well, kudos to you and your students for educating them.
Yes, we have a very good rapport with this family, but part of it's because they're such a great family too. Okay, are you dying to hear Sutton and what she sounds like? See her and hear her? Okay, so this was a couple of semesters ago. At this time, you can see that she was only using nouns to request. So this was one of our very first attempt a couple of semesters ago of putting a gestalt on the device as a request. So watch what happens.
What's next?
Elephant.
What do I do?
Elephant. Elephant.
An elephant?
What's this button?
I want the pencil to draw.
I got picture to wow.
Oh, you want the pencil to draw an elephant. Okay, good job telling me. Big ears. and a trunk.
That was me showing you.
Body. Big legs. And a tail. He goes, that's what he says. What's next?
Monkey.
Oh, a monkey? Tell me.
Monkey.
I want the pencil to draw.
Oh, you want the pencil to draw a monkey.
Okay, so first attempt at us trying to figure out what to do with gestalts. She often would say monkey, and then she would grab your hand and she would want you to draw it. This went on session after session after session. She was using a noun only to request. We needed more. So if she just says elephant or monkey to someone, they're probably going to give her an elephant or give her a monkey or show her a picture in a book, and that's not what she wanted. So we at that particular time were thinking we need this to be more specific to what she actually wants. And so we put it on the device, and then lo and behold, she says the entire phrase as an imitation from the device. So, I mean, that was kind of, like I said, this was a couple of semesters ago. We really didn't quite know how to put gestalts on the device. We weren't really sure. We just started kind of playing around with that. It made sense. It was functional. It worked. It didn't keep her from talking, as some people might be afraid that it would do. She actually expanded her request, and it was more specific. Yeah,
Yeah, loved it.
I know.
I had something to say, and I lost it.
Dang it.
It'll come back.
It will? Okay, want to see another video of Sutton?
Let's do it.
What's next? I see dog. I want dog. I want the dog. Ruff, ruff. Dog. I want the dog. I want the dog. Cat. Where's our cat?
The cat take a look. A cat take a look.
Cat. I want the cat. Is it stuck?
Okay, so a couple of things that I want you to notice here. I did put in the bottom another visual that we often will use with her. We call it a pacing board. It's just a strip with those squares on it. And really our only prompt with that is that when she sees it, she kind of knows to do the I want carrier phrase. So it kind of prompts her to more complex sentence structure.
Okay.
So we do use that a lot. And I know that at school, if she's struggling, we'll say, what do you want? What do you want? They'll use the device. We kind of have started using this. If she starts saying one word like door, we'll put that in, you know, she might say, I want to go. So we do, I just wanted to show you an example of another modality that we do use. Also, I think just important to note the sensory dysregulation, you know, is it due to frustration? It just kind of a lot of times comes out of nowhere, but I'm sure that there is something that is precipitating that. So she does do pinching. She pinches herself. She pinches clinicians. This particular clinician literally didn't even flinch.
Nope, she squeezed her
Squeezed
little
her
face.
cheek. I know. She probably came out with a bruise. I've got one right now, actually, but I didn't even know I got it. Okay, and so then what we started to notice here is that when she wants to play with animals, when she is playing with the animals, she tends to do a song. So I think she had the dog, and then she was like, oh, I think I want to play with the cat. Is the cat in there? And her response was to use Farmer in the Dell. The cat takes a wife. The cat takes a wife. So, I mean, we kind of noticed this. She has done it in the past with Old MacDonald. So we decided to try to put that. We had no idea where to put it, how to put it. We're just kind of starting to play with what we want to do with it. And so I'm going to show you some examples of that in just a second. But I think interesting for you to hear what some of her gestalts sound like and what they look like.
Yeah, and the clinician interpreted the meaning of it and then modeled, I want the cat. I want the cat. So love that she's modeling in the I phrase, like you want Sutton to then start to do. So that's great. There's not a lot of extra verbal going on. She's, just modeling some key phrases for her. I also like at the beginning, she wasn't sitting on the clinician's lap, but then she moved to the clinician's lap and brought the device right on her lap. I mean,
I didn't even notice that. Oh my gosh.
From the AAC,
I know.
I'm paying attention to that. Like, to me, she's positioning it. She wants it. It's a part of her. I love that she's like, this is a part of the interaction and my device is right here for me. And she can shift. Also, Sutton can shift her joint attention from the device to the communication partner to the toys. And that's a skill that's really developed over time for her too.
Yes.
So really, without a lot of intentional integration of all of it, she kind of is. I mean, I know you're working on those things, but she really is integrating it all to be a full multimodality communicator.
She's amazing. I mean, she really is amazing. And I think, again, had we not really thought about, I think when she first started here a few years ago and she would do some of the singing, we might not acknowledge it or even try to acknowledge it and then model it as anything else. We would just kind of keep playing, thinking that she just wanted to sing the song. And we have reframed our thinking for that. And then now we are able to model more, I don't know what I want to model the meaning so that more people will understand.
Yes.
Again, once we figured out that this probably means I see a cat or I want the cat or where is the cat, whatever she, what she means from that, we're able to build better, more functional language from that versus just ignoring it and moving on. So I feel like in the last few, years, we've really expanded our understanding of that, and it has benefited our clients because now we're thinking about them as Gestalt language learners. So it changes the way we prompt them and cue them, or don't prompt them and cue them, but just model. Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to say about the device and her putting it on her lap. To me, that shows me that she still needs it and wants it. Like, she's using it as a learning tool. Sometimes she's using it for expression, but to me, that's her wanting it, which I think is great. And she realizes that she needs it, I think, also to try to communicate.
Yeah. And it goes back to the point of, we might have said, we don't need it. Just leave it on the table or leave it with her parents because she's talking. But we know that we want her to have availability of all of those modalities. Okay. All right. So on the right side where you see the social script and the responses, where it says responses, this was something that we did in the spring where a previous clinician who had worked with her, they were doing a little bit of research on using a social script. Again, mom's biggest concern is I would like to be able to say, what did you do today? And have her respond. So we really listened to parents and tried to incorporate that into a social script that made sense for her. And what we have been working on a little bit, behind the scenes this summer is trying to figure out where would we want her to put the responses for those questions in her device. So we did do a social page where you can see that the responses are in the pink. Again, we're playing around and doing trial and error on how we want to make those visually appealing to her so that she can find them. Sutton knows her device, Sutton reads, Sutton will figure it out. But again, other people might need to know kind of what they're looking at as well. So, the other clinician would come in and she would say hi, and then we wanted Sutton to say hi and maybe even their name. The clinician would say, how are you? And we wanted Sutton to say, I'm feeling. You can see the I'm feeling button. What did you do today? And then we wanted her to do a verb. We typically used I played in our social script that we modeled. So you can see the I played is there. Who did you play with? And then we have I played with, and then she could go to people and say her friends. And then we did bye, and we did the greetings of bye. So, I mean, very simple. And this was us kind of experimenting with kind of where we wanted those. The script that you see on the left is something that we are working on this summer in the social peer group. So let me show you a little video of kind of how we have this one set up. You see the script on the left, and here I want them to, they need to be able to use the script and respond to the script. So you'll see that I'm doing all the buttons. Put it in social.
What's your name? Son. How old are you? I'm 5. What's your favorite animal? Rat.
Okay.
Wait, her favorite animal is a rat?
It really is. It really is a rat. She has like a little rat stuffed animal that she keeps in like a little house. It's been a rat for a long time. It's been, and there's probably some deep meaning behind it that we haven't figured out yet, right?
Okay,
So
sorry, I
a
got
rat.
distracted by
I
rat.
know, it's really weird. She used to want to have them draw a rat all the time in the drawing. Okay, so again, we're kind of playing with this. We decided to do it under the social, and then we also had some personal questions so that she could answer those questions. We think it's really important for her to know her personal information. And now she's got 3 new play partners, 3 new peers, and so we're kind of learning names and using that in our group.
So she does the script at least
She does the script probably
3 or 4 times?
Oh, I would say closer to 5 or 6 times a session,
Okay.
because she does it with each of the people in the play group, including the clinicians. Yeah. Okay. Again, where do these gestalts go? I mean, we just don't know. So I'm going to start over on the right side again, trying to figure out where we want to put the farmer in the dell, right? So if she is playing and she wants to ask for an animal or ask for something, do we put it next to the I want? Take a look at kind of what we're playing around with. Okay, you can see that the icon says, I want an animal, which we think we have figured out that that is the meaning when she says the farmer in the dell, or says the cat takes a wife. But it says the farmer in the dell. Again, we're playing around with that. I think that's going to be individualized for each of your clients to determine which works best. And we're just playing with that a little bit right now. And we will probably in the fall to see if we think this is something that we want to do. On the left-hand side, one of the other things that she does related to food, if she wants to eat something, or if she wants to say she's hungry, or she wants a snack, she might sing, Do You Know the Muffin Man? She's very intentional with Do You Know the Muffin Man? She uses it in the grocery store. She uses it at home. She's used it here. So, we did put next, when you hit eat on this icon, instead of saying eat, it says, Do you know the Muffin Man? Again, playing with that and seeing which way. Do we want it to say, I'm hungry? Do we want it to say, I want a snack? Or do we want it to say, Do you know the Muffin Man? We don't have the answers yet.
Right. We have talked and talked and talked about this.
I know.
We go round and round about where's the best place to put the gestalts, and how do you even put them on the device? Do you put them on it this way with the phrase written out that you want them to say, or do you do it with the meaning? Like, I think we just keep going back to, it's got to be very personalized to that child. It's got to be customized. You need to talk to your team. It's got to make sense. in the page set about where it is. I think that
Yes.
has to also be a team decision too. And it takes multiple people to figure out her gestalts.
It really does. And it takes a lot of time to trial it to see if it's going to work so that you can then be consistent with what you just decided.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think once we figured out, I can't say that we have a consistent means for it yet. So I feel like I'm still in the trial mode.
Yeah. It's hard.
And she changes so fast. Her gestalts, I mean, like her gestalts have stayed somewhat similar, but there's always new ones, and she does change them. We've really probably, I think, spent more time on some of these conversational reciprocal personal scripts lately than even just, we acknowledge her gestalts, but as far as using them through her device, we're just kind of playing with them right now.
Yeah. So her communication partners can watch her use the device, and then they'll know the meaning
Yeah.
of what she's trying to say with her gestalt. Like that's the goal of
That's the goal.
of how you have it
That's the goal.
planned out.
And she does need, she has sensory integration issues. She has times where she doesn't feel good. She has times where, again, I mentioned earlier, a tooth is bothering her or a hangnail or whatever. And when she is frustrated or dysregulated emotionally or sensory or behaviorally, she needs various ways to communicate her needs. I can't limit her to one.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't know all the answers for sure about where to program these gestalts. I think there's a lot of debate. There's a lot of information. We've tried to really look up, what other people are saying about that, how they program the gestalts on their pages. And so I really think it's a lot of trial and error and figuring out what's best for your child. And I don't think there's one exact right way to do it.
I think it would be silly to think there's one way, right? So hopefully, I mean, our goal today is to give you options, to give you, again, a framework and some thinking points.
Yeah.
But the individual client has to be in the center of it. And every one of those clients, as you know, is an individual and learns a little differently and thinks a little differently and is certainly going to have different gestalts. So we're only giving you kind of a framework. And we're also giving you the freedom to consult, collaborate, talk it out. We're giving you the freedom for trial and error. We don't want you to feel like you're failing if you don't have set goals and you're sticking to them. Be adaptable, be flexible. We really just want you to feel like you can do that. And hopefully you do have a team that you can kind of collaborate with. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we have questions.
Okay, if I can make
here.
any.
There's one in the Q&A.
All right.
What is the benefit of using AAC with a child that is a Gestalt language processor that does use echolalia?
Well, I feel like we just kind of showed you that sometimes they might want to use AAC. Sometimes they might want to use their verbal Gestalt. They're going to be different every day. And the benefit, I think, also is that a variety of people can communicate with them. If they are just using their gestalts and not everyone understands them, they might be able to kind of make it more accessible through the AAC device.
Yeah, maybe be able to express some more meaning that way. I think it also provides them another context for learning and another modality for learning communication, because as you're modeling things on their device, they are, using that for input.
Yeah. Another question, is about the whole follow their lead, kind of follow them around. How do we feel about that? How do we go about that? I will say that it's very interesting to do that with graduate students because it feels like you're not doing therapy, and I have to continually remind them that they are. Child-led therapy is what motivates kids to communicate. You have to see, you can't make them talk, or you can't make them to communicate. You have to kind of wait to see what is going to be motivating for them. So child-led therapy, it was an adjustment for me even. I feel like I was a pusher and now I am a player.
Oh,
I'm
I
a
like
player.
that.
I
You're a
know.
player,
I'm a
not a
player.
pusher
Yeah.
anymore. I think it's understanding too. It's having to know how to do it. You have to have a solid understanding of what you're working on, and helping them understand. Well, they're learning in chunks, so we have to model in chunks. So
know.
you need to be thinking about that, not analytic and single words, one at a time.
Yeah.
We have another question about her iron deficiency. How does it impact her regulation? What are the signs and symptoms? And somebody said, I Googled that because I got curious and found out it has significant impact on emotional and behavioral regulation, which for sure it does for her.
And I
Do you have
think
anything else?
fatigue, I would say that, we can see it in her face. She usually has some bags under her eyes. Gets more fatigued more easily. She's a little bit, I would say, more whiny than she typically is. And so then it's kind of like a light bulb goes off and we think, oh gosh, maybe we should check her iron. So, I mean, this has been an ongoing thing for her. So, her medical team is the one that kind of discovered that. And then now we kind of know what to look for.
Yeah. I love the comment that you want us to make sure and thank the client and the parents and the grad students for helping us learn through their experiences. 100%. I mean, we have what, almost 30 years of experience, 25, 30 years of experience.
29 for me.
The amount of stuff that we have learned from our clients is just absolutely outstanding. I mean, we learn new things with every client that we work with. We're so thankful that our clients and their parents are open to letting us share this. I mean, with our students and with other SLPs, and they recognize the value of, sharing this information and education.
That's what I was going to say, is that they want us to share the information. And like, again, for the summer group, they're like, we want everyone to be able to come to the summer group. We want everyone to have that experience. So yes, we will thank them. We love using our students as guinea pigs after 29, 30 years of doing it. Teaching them, observing them and watching them makes us even better every time. It's just amazing. So yes, we will thank them.
Okay, how about home exercises? What do your home exercises or homework look like in relation to AAC, specifically for GLPs?
I think mostly just making sure that if we add something or change something, that we are showing them, the parents, and saying, try this out, and then come back and share with us how that worked. So I think that we can give them a focus of something that we worked on, but we definitely need to ask them after a week, did that work? Did that not work? What part of it worked? What didn't work? Homework is talking to them before they leave and talking to them when they get here. They watch our sessions here, which I know not everyone has that ability. So they learn just from watching.
You've also educated them on when Sutton starts using a phrase over and over again, you are asking them to play detective as well and talking to them about how they have to play detective. Let's figure out what she's meaning, in what context is she using those phrases over and over. That's how you figured out Muffin Man, right?
Yeah.
She was in the grocery store and mom came in and told you about, she saw something and she started saying Muffin Man, and then they made all these connections. So I think teaching them about that also is important homework.
And just not forgetting that they know them better than you'll ever know them, even though you get to spend a lot of time with them. And I guess, you said thank the parents. I mean, just being grateful to them, I think keeps them motivated to want to learn from us. Or want to work as a team, I think is really important as well.
Good point. Somebody commented that some of the gestalts that were programmed on the device were just printed words and not symbols. I think that's okay for Sutton because she's hyperlexic and she's reading. I do think you want to try to add some picture symbols for other students who may not be hyperlexic so that they are recognizing the picture symbol meaning along with the gestalt.
Do you think it's important to be consistent with that, or is it okay to kind of be one way one time? And I mean, a lot of hers have pictures, but some of them don't. And as we're trialing some of these new gestalts, I've just been writing them in there. So I don't know if it needs to be consistent or if that's not a big issue. That's a question I have.
Yeah, I think that's going to take some of your own evidence and experience, right? So you have them both ways, and playing around with that and seeing how she learns from both. And
Yeah.
if she's learning from one quicker than the other, then I think you know that, okay, we got to switch. The other
Yeah,
ones to that.
right now I would say she uses them equally.
Okay.
I know, so I feel okay. All right.
I think that's all the questions. So thank you all for attending tonight. Remember, if you guys are joining us live and your state requires live CEUs, that you need to make sure and go fill out all sections of the course content page before the end of today. And I think that's it for us. We have another EPIC case in a month.
Do you
So
even know what it is?
you know what, I was just thinking about that earlier today.
I have
don't know
no
what it is yet.
idea. I have no idea. I know. We have how many left? Maybe 4 or 5?
Maybe 4 or 5
case studies left, and I have no idea what the next one is. I haven't looked.
So you're going to be surprised just like we are.
Yeah.
We'll promise we'll be ready for you though.
We will. And join us tomorrow night on Speech Therapy PD if you guys want to know a little bit about speech sound disorder intervention.
That's right. Thank you. Have a good night.